what they say will let us know.
Bro, if I stand for it, is it okay? Is this okay?
Yeah, hello.
Or should I go back? This is okay. All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever you're streaming live from, we are on the MTN Ghana Facebook and YouTube pages, and you are welcome to the MTN Digital Music Conference. Of course, we would have loved to do this, one-on-one like we did last year and a bit of virtual, but because of the current circumstances globally, COVID-19, of course, we've had to do things 100% digitally. And of course, the music industry isn't new to doing things 100% digital. For the past decade or so, we've had to do our own warming up to the global phenomenon of digital consumption of music. I'm talking about streaming. We've had to find ways of not only staying relevant, but also making money from our craft, making money from what we love to do. And that is what this conference right here is about. And of course, MTN have been in the forefront of innovation and creating platforms through which each and every one of us out there, especially you creatives watching, can make money from your music, can make money from your art. And that is why we're here today. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the Chief Marketing Officer for MTN. He's going to officially kick off this workshop. And when we come back, I'll introduce you to our panelists and our keynote speakers from across Africa as well. Joel, if you're here.
Distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to the 2020 MTN Digital Music Conference. This is a program designed to create meaningful discussions on how the opportunities in the digital world can be harnessed to support the growth of the creative arts and entertainment industry in Ghana. As a brand, we see ourselves as an enabler of opportunities, and so in 2016, we organized a forum for movie producers, musicians, content providers, and other stakeholders to discuss topics centered on how to explore digital channels to market their content. In 2018, we focused our attention on intellectual property and protection of interventions because there was the need to educate people on how to patent their content before sharing them online. The professionals shared their insights, and with our guests and as a result of the engagement, we developed services that met the need of our stakeholders. I am excited about this year's Digital Music Conference because we're focusing our attention on the music industry and the opportunities in generating more revenue for our artists. A critical element of today's conference will be how to build impact both locally and globally. As we are all aware, COVID-19 has affected many industries both positively and negatively, and the creative arts industry has not been left out. Yet, in the midst of the pandemic, we have seen a huge uptake in digital consumption. As many people work from home, online and digital platforms have become the primary source for their lifestyle and entertainment needs. Industry statistics suggest that the scale of music through digital platform keeps increasing year on year compared to physical sales. Paid subscriptions to platforms like Spotify or Apple Music are leading this rise, but that is not the only remarkable phenomenon. The globalized nature of the industry is mind-blowing. While the rise in music consumption is significant, it is important to understand the elements that would make participation and monetization of this phenomenon meaningful to us here. Issues of copyright, frameworks, file sharing, and piracy remain critical. Guided by the theme for the conference, how to monetize your work and the challenges of digital media, we're happy to host some of the finest brains you can find in the industry to share ideas on the theme. A special welcome to Rex Omar, Chairman of GAMRO, Cynthia Kwaku, Managing Partner, CQ Legal and Consultant, and Founder of African One Media, Yoel Kinan of Africori, Gillian Extra, Music Time, and Richie Mensah, CEO Lanes Entertainment. We're confident the insights shared today will address the key issues at stake and also equip our participants to take advantage of the opportunities presented by our world today. Welcome once again, and thank you.
We day for you everywhere you go.
Chief Marketing Officer of MTN, Noel Kojo Ganson. You're welcome back. In case you just Tune in. This is the MTN Digital Music Conference. We're speaking about two major things today, things that pertain to every creative and every musician out there. We're talking about how to make money from your music and, of course, the challenges of digital media today. Because as you know, things keep changing, platforms keep being introduced. So it's very important as an artist to stay abreast with this and to keep in touch with the various platforms that you can take advantage of. So like Mr. Noel said, we have an incredible panel of experienced individuals for you here today. So I want you to really pay attention, but also right now, share the link with someone out there who needs to benefit from this. So we're on Facebook, the MTN Ghana Facebook page. We're also on the MTN Ghana YouTube page. So right now, just click on share and put that on your timeline as well. I'm going to go straight into it, and again, just touch on the names and a bit of history about the panelists here today, and then we'll go into our very first keynote address. So to my far left, you have Mr. Rex Omar. Now, when it comes to royalties and Gamro, it's just one major thing that quite a number of artists in Ghana are very concerned about, how they can make money from the royalties, what they need to do. These are things that we will be touching on with Mr. Rex Omar. We also have Cynthia Kweku with us here. She's a founder and partner at CQ Legal. But apart from that, she is also one of the brains, actually the founder as well, of Africa One Media. You may know them for two major artists that they've really pushed out there, Sarkodie and the man Samini. So we'll touch on that and a lot more of the services they offer to many of the creatives and artists here in Ghana. Then of course you've got Richie Mensah. I doubt Richie needs any introduction at all. It's a hit, man. You know Richie's behind it. He's been behind so many iconic Ghanaian musicians who've put Ghana out there in so many ways and consistently charted hits after hit. From the days of O.J. Black, Asem, to now, two of the biggest, Kwame Eugene and Kitty. That's the man, Richie. We're going to go overseas. You probably know this man from the tagline GhanaMotion.com. One of the very first pioneers of, should I say, digital music distribution in our parts before we even, became familiar with streaming and whatnot. The man, Kwame Asenso, one of the partners and founders of GhanaMotion.com, will be joining us. And it's great to have him here because we've had a transition from downloading and streaming music for free to actually paying and subscriptions. So it would be good to have his take on it as well. We also have Beat Menace. Beat Menace is someone who's very passionate about the music industry in general. He has a wealth of knowledge about it. And he's not only concerned about the talent, the content, but he's also very concerned about the framework to ensure that musicians continue to benefit from their work. So thank you very much, Beat Menace, for being here. Then we go to South Africa, where we have two individuals who will be joining us. First one, Jillian Ezra. She's currently the head of marketing for Music Time, a music streaming platform that if you haven't heard of just yet, you will know more about. And if you're an artist, wait for that, because if your music is not on Music Time, it's something that you should definitely note and start working on right after this workshop. And of course, our very first keynote speaker goes by the name of Yoel Kenan. He's got a wealth of experience when it comes to music from different areas. He started off producing concerts, he's worked in A&R, heading labels, and now he heads and actually founded one of the leading music distribution services right here in Africa, Africori. If you're an artist, you've most likely heard of them. So on that note, I'm going to hand over to him, and he's going to touch on one of the major topics we're here to speak about today, how to make money from your music. Over to you, Noel.
Hi everybody, good day from South Africa. I'm actually not South African, I'm based here. Gladly to be based here, and sorry that we can't travel and be with you in Accra, that we love so much. I've got possibly a presentation to share. I can do it without, but let me try. And sorry, give me a second. It would be better if I start from the beginning. Sorry about that. Okay, I don't know if you can see it. Can you hear me?
You can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I've been asked to talk about the how to monetize your work and the challenge of digital media. Before starting, I wanted to give maybe or paint maybe an overview of the landscape at the moment for an artist or a producer who wants to release music in that space. Today, there is over 60 million songs available on most of the large DSP around the world. The DSP are digital service providers like Spotify, Apple, Deezer, Amazon, and so forth. There is 40,000 songs uploaded every day. There's more than 1.2 million artists, but on the latest publication from Spotify, as they are listed, I could find over 1.2 million artists on Spotify. And then to give you an indication about the clutterness in terms of the distributors, and I just put a few here that I could find, and numbers can be verified. The big kind of distributor like TuneCore, CD Baby, DistroKid have between hundreds of thousands of artists, even 2 million artists. And to make it even more complicated, we're now in a situation where we're trying to gain share or to get attraction in an environment where you're competing with podcasts. And podcasts now, there's 1.5 million podcasts available on Spotify. So this is where we start. So the real question is like, people think, okay, I've got a distributor, it's great, I'm available on all the platforms, and we're now going to start to make money. And that's where the big problem starts. And I just wanted to give you, because every time you think that you've got a hit, it might not be sufficient enough in the market that you're trying to reach. So every time you start again from zero and you build a story, and I'll give some examples on that. The tips that I will give is definitely first and foremost to understand your audience, understand yourself. What is your identity as an artist? In order to monetize, I think you need to go through those steps. You know, it's kind of like what makes your music, what makes you as an artist different, and how do you position yourself? Because we are in the business of connecting an artist and an audience, and then monetizing that audience through different ways. So definitely it's understanding your audience. There's so much data available today, from the data you've got on Facebook, TikTok, Insta, the data that you got from your sales, you know, the Spotify for artists, Apple for artists, you know, Amazon gives you data, distributors give you data. So that's very important to understand, that we've got artists or clients who came here and say, I really want to get into New York and the US, and I'm looking at data, so why? What is your story? What are you going to do in the US? Yeah, but I want billboards, you know, in Times Square, and I think it's going to work. Why? Why suddenly people would stop? So there's, you know, definitely understanding that. Analyzing the competition is interesting. First of all, it allows you to set up targets. There are software that exists in the marketplace today that allows you to track any artist in the world. So if you want to see how Drake is doing, if you want to see which playlist your competition is on the week of release, you can track that. So just make sure that you use those softwares and you get there. Most importantly, and I know we just came out of a 1-hour meeting with TikTok this afternoon, and again, most of the time it's all about setting up your digital presence. You'll be surprised how many artists are not properly set up digitally. If you don't have all those, it's very difficult to monetize. You want to maximize. The second thing is, we've been talking a lot here, is about the narrative. When the distributor or record label talks to a curator, even if it's in New York or Paris or Munich or Berlin or wherever it is, and we're trying to sell, for example, in South Africa, there's a genre of music that is starting to take over the continent in some markets around the world called Amapiano. Now, for us to be able to sell one of the biggest Amapiano artists, we can't just sell to the guy in New York about Amapiano. We need to explain to him the context. How do you explain the context? How do you explain the narrative Do you have a video? Do you have a 2-minute video? Do you have, something to explain what it is so that person understands what you're talking about? Building the promotions. You can't just drop a song cold to people. Yes, it can happen, but you're not giving yourself the right chances. All those things were there for years and years. Surround yourself is, making sure you've got a good team. It's a good label, good manager, good lawyer, good accountant, whoever you need to at different stages. If it's one person, just surround yourself with the right person that you need. They don't need to be as experienced. You just need to make sure they ask the right questions and they're hardworking with you. And the last 2 points, as you can read, the plan is so important. It's the time where people drop a song 3 days before the release should be finished. It's actually criminal. You can do it if you got such a buzz, but it's really, you're losing so much momentum. And today, when we develop a release, we work 2, even 3, or even 4 months before the release. And the clients that we have, record labels or artists that work with us and maximize that plan in the best way, tend to be the one that get the most success. Of course, it doesn't mean that without a hit you can have success, but if you have a hit or if you have a good album, you don't have to have a hit. You'll maximize the revenues, you'll maximize the reach. There's a lot of key performance indicators that we look at. And the last point, which we like as a distributor to set all the time, is targets, because stock is great, but we love to set targets and say, okay, where should you reach in terms of milestones, not just in terms of playlists, but in terms of streams on the first 24 hours, 72 hours, week, month, 3 months, and so forth. And we're reviewing it on a regular basis. But this quote is something that when I started in the major record labels in '91 in France, it was Island Records, the label of Bob Marley, had that in big, which was, without promotion, something terrible happens. Nothing. And I think that is something that is so true today, will be true tomorrow. You need to set up a promotion plan. And that is something that needs to happen. Bob Marley did it, and a lot of great artists did it. You need to focus on that. The second part, which is something, because I know there will be different panelists talking about different aspects of that, I really wanted to, the part of my presentation, talk about UGC, which stands for user-generated content. It's fast becoming a very important, not only a source of promotion, but also a source of revenue. So user-generated content, for those who don't know, is when it's platforms that allow users to license or take a piece of songs and link it to an audiovisual piece, like, for example, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube does it. Here's some information on that. So the revenue of those user-generated, those social media platforms in 2019 was close to $120 billion. The industry, the music industry, generated around $18 or $19 billion last year. So just to give you an element. TikTok just reached 1 billion, members. YouTube, I think they're close to 2. Thrillers, we know they've got hundreds of millions at the moment, especially not in the US, but also in India. Facebook and Instagram, we know as well. Altogether, we're talking about 7.7 billion users. Now, those are not 7.7, unique users. It can be the same users using the different platforms, of course. But interestingly enough, how is it impacting our industry is that we believe that it already has generated $1.2 billion for the global recorded business. So this is, being on TikTok, being on Facebook, is not just a tool for promotions and marketing. It also can generate revenue. We're seeing a real steady growth from those platforms at the moment. And we think there are going to be more platforms, more ways of using, like karaoke and, interacting into that. That's going to unlock more revenues. So that's why the music business has never been in a better place. And now, globally again, maybe not all of us personally. I've been asked to talk about one of our artists, which has been the biggest success for our company this year. And the interesting point of that is really, before I get into the numbers, is to tell the story and how it happens and how important UGC has been. Because this is Master KG Jerusalem. It's the second album that was released by Master KG with Africori, and actually in Master KG's life. The first one, Skeleton Move, had a success in South Africa, #1, did well in Nigeria. The second one came back in December here, it was #1 again, went to Nigeria, around January, February, reached the top 5. And then what happened is that the song started to spread, and as you know, it started to spread also to Angola, because the record label Open Mic was doing some work in promotion over there, and through social media, they started that dance that then took fire into Portugal. We started to feel, we as a company, Africori, started to feel there was some, a bit of a buzz starting to happen in France as well. So we quickly hired some the company to create some content, do our own dances, bring some influencers. We shot in the White Vincennes, which is at the outskirts of Paris. And we ran a campaign in June. So when we released the song with Berna, and it started to build up the momentum, and then it's starting to get into other markets. Again, I don't think without the UGC, without users making that song their own, we would have never been able to achieve the numbers that are here. So, I think we can say it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest song from Africa. We're already on 180 million audio streams. You can read the numbers. They're quite impressive. What is interesting is that we've already done more than 650 million streams on TikTok. This is crazy. And we're still in campaigns in the US at the moment between Twitter and TikTok. The other number is Facebook, Instagram. The first month, was already on 280 million streams. That's our reporting that we got. And of course, another #1 and everything. So at the moment, I would say halfway through where we want to reach. I think we're going to reach between 300 and 400 million videos on YouTube, and we'll reach 250 to 300 million streams on Spotify. And that's within the next 6 to 7 months. The next example is a project that came with us 2 weeks ago called Mapara Jazz, the John Vouligate, speaking to TikTok just now. We're hearing that it's starting to get some real buzz in Nigeria. We know Kenya. We know we had already Zimbabwe and Zambia and the neighboring countries, but we've also started to get some buzz in Holland and interest for Holland, so we're going to run some campaigns over there. And here's, as you can see, this is a song, and you can see all those ladies. There's also some guys which started to talk, and I think if I can play you something, I hope it's going to work. That's the 15 seconds that started the whole UGC craze. So, sorry, let me put it back. So, 15 seconds that just took off. And we got straight away, first day, #1 on iTunes, Apple, Spotify, Deezer, #1 on the radio airplay after that. 37 on the global Shazam charts. This is incredible. I think we're the first time we had 2 singles from Africa, or from South Africa, in the top 40 on the global Shazam charts around the world. And 30 million streams on TikTok in 2 weeks, and it's really, really just building. So my message again is, yes, there is money in UGC. There's, of course, a lot of opportunity in promotion. So this is, for me, one of the great way of not only promoting yourself in your country, but also starting to spread outside. And the last point, if I may, would be that the record labels at the moment are just looking at data. So if you're looking to sign to a Warner or Sony or Spinning Records in Europe and the US, I can tell you they're all monitoring that information. Because we can monitor the competition, they will make sure they look at it, and they will contact you before we even think of contacting them. That's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was Joel Keenan. He's the CEO and founder of Africori. And a few minutes after this, we will speak to him and get to know few more reasons why he decided to move and set up Africoria and what it has become. I think one of the things that I definitely took from your presentation, Yoel, was the vast opportunity there is, you know, for music, the amount of money, the figures, and how people can actually tap into this and make money for themselves. So there is a market, and there's a lot you can do with that market. We will come back to you. For now, we're going to go straight into a conversation with Mr. Rex Omar. We all know royalties is a big subject when it comes to how you're going to make money as a musician. You know, one of the main things, apart from shows, you know, apart from your endorsement deals, is money from your creation, what you created, getting money from that. And I'm very, very happy that we have the man himself, Mr. Rex Omar. He's the chairman of Gamro. He's been in that seat for 4 years. With a round of applause, wherever you are, do clap for him. It's not an easy task. Mr. Rex, over to you. If you could introduce yourself, your role with Gamro, and emphasize on the importance of what artists need to do in order to secure the bag when it comes to royalties.
Thank you very much. Gamro, my name is Rex Omar. I'm a board chairman of Gamro, Ghana Music Rights Organization. Gamro is set up as a collective management organization to collect for public music usage and then to distribute the revenues into its rightful owners. When I got into Gamro, or when I was elected to the board 4 years ago, there were no structures. I mean, a structure that you can call a collective management was not there. My predecessors who ran the organization for 3 years just ran it like an association. So when we got there, we decided to first and foremost separate the board from the administration, and then we brought some consultants from CSAC and IFPI and then WIPO to help reorient the board. I mean, so we gave the administration free hand to actually run as a collective management. Before you can put yourself into this situation, there are other CMOs around the globe. Like you have Samro in South Africa, you have PRS for music in England, you have GEMA in Germany. We have reciprocal agreements with all these organizations so that we help each other. As you collect for them, here they collect for you, there. But the structures, the things that we needed to do as an organization to be able to be in that game were not there. We didn't have our IPs, which is interested party numbers, we didn't have them. We didn't have something that we call ISWCs, which is International Standard Recording Codes. We didn't have them. We didn't have ISRCs, which is International Standard Recording Codes. You know, in copyright, you have 2 legs. The copyright itself for the music, and then the copyright in the recorded sound. We didn't have all these codes. So apart from that, you also needed to still chase monies to pay to the owners. And where do you chase these monies? By the Ghanaian law, we have prime users, which are radio stations and broadcast organizations. Then you come to like telcos, and you come to any public place that music is used. Here is the situation in our country. People who are using music do not understand why they have to pay for the music they use. Unlike other places where people know that music is other people's intellectual properties, so in they running their media houses, it is part of their cost. Here in Ghana, no. So the little money that you don't have, you have to still use it to drag them to court. And you know our legal system, how cases drag before you can even win a case. So in a nutshell, we came to help build Gamro. Now thankfully by my board and the hard work of the management, we've been able to structure the organization. Now we have our IPs, now we have our ISWC codes. Now I think next week we are going to have our ISRC codes, and we've been able to design a new website that now up-and-coming musicians don't even need to come to Gumroad. You can upload your music and apply for Gumroad membership. People think that as you go and record a demo, then automatically you become a member of Gumroad and you start collecting money. It doesn't work that way. Gumroad gets money from music usage. So the music must have been released, been promoted, then the revenues that come out of its usage, Gumroad collects and distributes. One of the major problems here is what we do, we do something that we call blanket levy or blanket license. You go to radio stations and broadcasting corporations and you negotiate on a blanket license.
Okay.
Elsewhere, people will go and say, give me 5% or 10% of your gross annual income or your net. No Ghanaian company will sit with you. They don't even want you to know their books. So we just negotiate based on the advices we got from our consultant from CSAC and WIPO. We just start negotiating. As soon as the people are ready to pay you something, then you take it from there. Okay. So we take blanket licenses. And when we get the blanket licenses, under normal circumstance, the people who are playing the music on radio and TV are supposed to log. Whose music is it that you are playing? What is the title? How many minutes did you use it? They don't do the logging. Why? Because they feel that as they do the logging, we will use the logs to bill them. So they don't do the logs. So now it becomes a problem for Gumroad to find means to also log. And this logging is expensive, even though it does not add a penny to your income. All the logs does is it helps you to do equitable distribution. For example, if you have signed a reciprocal with, say, SAMRO or PRS or whatever money you collected, you must have a data as to whose music was used so as to be able to pay the other societies in other countries that you have collected for. You don't have this data. How do you distribute which money belongs to who? And that is a problem. The problem is still a problem that Gumroad is grappling with. We try to contract an organization called BMAT. Or there's another company in South Africa called something Afro. And the monies they're asking for, some of them wants $200,000, $300,000 per year. The question you ask yourself, how much money does Gumroad get in a year? Because we are already in court with even the biggest public broadcaster, which is GBC. For the past 7 years, they haven't paid a penny to Gumroad. We are in court with them. We are in court with all the telcos. Monies that they are paying in other countries in Ghana, they don't want to pay. We are in court in some of the major radio stations. You have to pull them before they pay. So people in Ghana think that Gumroad is responsible for all their royalties. It's not true. Gumroad is only responsible for the royalties that come from public music usage. For example, if you sign a contract with a record label, like say Lynx Music. When Lynx does his sales on streams, or if it's like CDs or whatever, he pays you direct. No Lynx artist come to Gumroad to take his money. Lynx pays you direct. But if you are the artist and then say Lynx is a publisher, the monies, the performing rights and whatever that comes to Gumroad is a fraction that goes to them. But the actual sales, the actual streams, the actual live shows that you do, the endorsement, whatever, it's a business between you and Lynx. So the royalties that come to Gumroad is not all the revenues. A lot of artists think that everything that they do, if you put your music on iTunes, your money must come to Gumroad. If you put your music on YouTube, your money must come to Gumroad. It's not true. The money that comes from YouTube to Gumroad is a friction that they pay something we call mechanical royalty. It's a very little money that comes. And when it comes, depending on how your music is being used, they will itemize it and tell that Sarkodie's music was used that much, and this is the money for Sarkodie. So in that scenario, you don't have a problem.
Okay.
So on the digital platforms, we don't have the problem of logging and monitoring because they have the inbuilt systems.
Okay.
That is why our brother had the data to tell us the figures. But the problem with Gamro is the radio stations, the TV stations in Ghana, the telcos, they are not giving you any data. So that is where we are now. We are now almost as a perfect collective management organization, yet we still have a lot of work to do.
Hey, thank you very much. And I like the fact that we've highlighted, the opportunity that is in the music industry for all the artists, and we've highlighted a few of the problems. But for clarity's sake, because I know we have a lot of artists watching, and you've been getting a lot of phone calls from radio stations trying to clear this as well, and I'm happy that Richie's here, so I can ask him a few things as well. For clarity's sake, the process for it now. Because we do have a fraction of artists out there who've never registered with Gamro before, but like you said, expect royalties to be paid to a certain extent. We're happy to hear that, things weren't as good, but there's progress and things are better with, the progress that you just highlighted. But what does an artist do now? Let's say I have a creation, I have a producer, a song is out. What's the process moving forward?
The process is simple. Either you go online, my Gamro Online, or you come to the office.
GamroOnline.com. GamroOnline.org. Okay.
Or you come to the office, and then you bring your work. You have to prove that your work has been released. Okay. And it is the public domain. Then we have something that we call assignment form. So you have to assign your rights to Gamro.
Okay.
Not all your rights, some of your rights.
Okay.
To Gamro to administer on your behalf. That is how it's done all over the world, because it gives Gamro the legal basis to administer your work for you. Previously, you could only belong to one collective management organization.
Okay.
But now the CSAC and the laws have changed a bit, so you can belong to two. So for example, you can belong to Gamro for West Africa or Africa and belong to another collective management organization for the globe. Myself sitting here, I'm a member of Swiza in Switzerland. I'm also a member of Gamro. Because Gamro's rich, Gamro hasn't developed enough to be able to protect me globally.
Okay.
So I give Gamro to West Africa, and then I give Swiza to the rest of the world, because they've been there for years and they have the links. Gamro will get there, but we are not there yet. So these are some of the things. So as an artist, as soon as you release your work and it's in the public domain, or you are a producer, a record label, or a publisher, you just come, you assign your rights, you give us the title, because you know the title of your songs.
Yes.
And then as you give the titles and the metadata and everything, now then assign codes. Or sometimes, even before you release your work, you have to come to Gamro and find out what the codes are, so that you get the codes, so that if you put the music on any digital platform, it is protected. Most of Ghanaian works are in the public domain, but they have no codes whatsoever, and they just put the music out there. So you have other people or other digital platforms assign codes for those songs, so as to be able to trace it and collect monies for whatever. So that is what it is.
Picking from what you said, so let's say I'm a Ghanaian artist, I sign up to Gamro to collect for Ghana or West Africa, and I sign up to another association for Southern Africa or for the UK, ASCAP, or America. Will ASCAP pay Gamro and then Gamro pays me? Or does ASCAP pay me directly?
If you have assigned with ASCAP and you become a member of ASCAP, ASCAP pays you directly.
Okay.
But if you're a Gamro member and Gamro has the reciprocal agreement with ASCAP, ASCAP will collect the monies, send it to Gamro in your name, and Gamro will forward it to you. We have a lot of artists like that.
Okay.
So that's how it is.
So step number one, you have to register with Gamro.
You have to register with Gamro.
Okay.
In fact, if you're a Ghanaian artist, your best bet is Gamro, because Ghana is your prime market.
Okay.
There's one issue. I mean, this topic is about how to monetize music, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I hear a lot of people talking about digitization, monetization, and all that. The question you ask yourself in Ghana is, the majority of Ghana music lovers, they don't have access to just digital platforms. How many Ghanaians have credit card that they can even go online to stream music? Like, for example, if you say you want to go buy music on iTunes or buy on Spotify. Spotify is not even operating in Ghana anyway, so the best they can do is go on YouTube and just watch the movie, the video, or whatever it is. But there are a majority of Ghanaian music lovers that has been cut out. There is a way to go about this. It's not in the domain of Gamro, it's in the domain of actually people like Richie Dems. They have an association that is equivalent to IFPI, because IFPI is the Association for Phonographic Organized, the record labels and record companies, if you go to the marketplaces or the stations, you see some young guys sitting there with laptops, downloading or uploading music for people and put the money in their pocket. So one of the ways that I've always proposed, when I became the chairman of GAMRO, I thought I could help, but I realized that legally GAMRO doesn't have that right to do it, because that right in the recorded sound belongs to the record labels.
Okay.
So the record labels that have an association called GAPI, they could come out or come together and create a software, and GAMRO can team up with them, help them, so that we can license all these young people. I mean, it becomes a win-win situation. So in using this to create jobs, you give the person a laptop, you create some small kiosks like what the Lotto people use. So you give them a laptop, and every new music that comes, you put all the codes and you upload it on the system for them. And as people come and upload with their phones and whatever, if a music is, say, 1 CD, he pays 1 CD to the guy gets 20 pesos, bring back the balance, and the owners of the music. This is a business that is there.
Okay.
But it must be done, it must be planned, it must be funded. So these are some of the things. Otherwise, majority of the Ghanaian music buyer is cut out of the market.
Okay. And I like something else that you did mention is just the fact that you've registered to GAMRO doesn't necessarily mean GAMRO owes you money unless your music is being used.
Under normal circumstances.
Great. Which brings me to my next point from a legal perspective. So the music is being used. You know, Mr. Rex just said he goes to these corporate institutions. I'm sure you go to the hotels, the restaurants. You know, you're trying to get a percentage. They're saying no. They're using the music. What's the legal action here? If it's not under your jurisdiction, what can the artists do? Cynthia, if you could touch on that real quickly.
Very clearly, the laws and regulatory framework, it's there. I'm going to take it in two different aspects. In terms of the copyright laws, the organizations that have been set up to try and enforce, they're doing a great job. And speaking, hearing him speak has shed a lot of light on the concerns that I had initially.
Yeah.
The problem we have is enforcement, clearly. Enforcement of people's rights. The fact is that every creative has the right to benefit and have value for what they create. That's a fact.
Okay.
The fact is that when it comes to physical consumption of these, taking into account what Rex has just said about that there is a large market of people who are still not able to access digital platforms, there needs to be stakeholder engagement and action to make sure that that market is taken care of. The fact, however, remains that when it comes to digital consumption, there is evidence to show that it's increasing while physical consumption is decreasing. The regulatory framework, in my opinion, particularly when it comes to digital platform, it's actually not even regulated. That's one interesting thing. And so there are other concerns that I'm sure the scope of this discussion would not even let me be able to touch on. But the issue we have is enforcement. And the artists must take things into their own hands. I have had the opportunity of working with artists from very established artists who weren't that established before I started working with them to those who are upcoming artists. And I think even with what you all have said, we understand that when it comes to enforcement, the artists themselves has a big role in contributing to that enforcement. Okay. The regulatory framework, we can do better. Whether the rights organizations that have been put in place to monitor and assist them in realizing these benefits are doing a great job, whether there needs to be investment, there needs to be support, that's something I'd like to touch on later on. But in terms of the regulatory framework, we do have something in place, but enforcement of that is definitely key to that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Richie, I'm going to come to you a bit later in the conversation. I want us to cross over to Jillian Ezra. And Jillian, before you begin, you know, your keynote address and speaking about, you know, the challenges of digital media today, I want to ask you, because I do know that you have quite a background in digital intellectual property. You specialize in copyright and internet-related issues. So listening to Mr. Rex and Cynthia Can you relate to any of this, as in comparing to the situation in South Africa before you were where you are now? Can you relate to anything they're saying right now?
Oh, absolutely. I think anywhere in the world, the copyright system is not perfect. And whilst in certain territories it's more difficult than others because the regulatory framework isn't as established, nonetheless, we all started in the same place and we're all trying to go to the same place. So it is very, very familiar. But the good news is that I do think in South Africa we've moved a little bit past that, and there is better news in terms of what artists are encountering in South Africa. So it's always good to see examples from different countries.
Yeah, and it's great to hear that there's progress there, and with what Rex has said, I'm pretty sure we'll get to that status as well. So over to you, challenges in digital media, and of course, I'm sure you'll touch on Music Time as well, and we can discuss that a bit more. Ladies and gentlemen, Jillian Ezra of Music Time.
Thank you very much, Antoine, and to the other speakers. I think some very interesting points that have been made. I'm just going to check that you can see my screen properly.
Yes, we can.
Great. Okay, so everyone's favorite topic, the challenge of digital. I have come at it from a slightly different angle. Some of what I'm saying is going to overlap with your ale, and everything I'm saying is certainly going to support the legal and royalty discussion we've just had. So the challenges of digital. Whenever someone asks about the challenge of digital, I always start here. Demystify. You know, everyone thinks that digital is complicated and difficult to understand. But the truth is, we're all in this together. There's nobody out there that understands it better than you do. And I always like to say to artists, don't be intimidated by digital. Just go out there and try different services and don't put it on a pedestal. You know, the truth is that all of us that work in digital services, we spend all our time trying to build products that are easy to understand. We spend all our time trying to build things with empathetic design and all these fancy words that actually simply mean, does the user understand it intuitively? If your user has to learn how to use your app or your product, you've done something wrong. That's the rule in digital. So demystify. And then, of course, very strongly taking a different angle, but supporting the discussion before, know your rights. You know, it's very, very important to understand and to know your rights. And my demystify applies there just as much as it does to digital services. Rights are not hard to understand. Rights are not at all hard to understand, actually. If you just put a little bit of effort in, you can really understand your rights. And the long and the short of it is, if you don't understand your rights, you can't understand what you are missing out on. And just referring back to the previous conversation, I find that so many artists don't understand publishing rights. There's two completely different streams of revenue, and you really could be missing out on something great. So demystify, that's my word. So what are the challenges of digital? We have to start with piracy. Unfortunately, piracy is a reality of our environment. And I always make myself unpopular at these discussions because I think piracy is going to get worse on our continent. As we start to see broadband and data, the prices are dropping, and as these services become more accessible, people are going to realize that there's a world of music out there on the internet. And I think it's very important to acknowledge the behavior of piracy. We learn from pirate behavior. We learn how to make better services. We learn how to convert pirate behavior into paid behavior, or at least, you know, authentic services. So I think it's always very important to acknowledge the behavior of piracy. You know, piracy comes with its own cost. It's not actually free. And it's actually quite inconvenient. People get viruses, they get all sorts of things. And working together with that behavior, we can find a way to get past it. The thing with digital that is an immense challenge for me is this word always on. And it encompasses a lot of different things. But really, I suppose what I mean is that digital is 24/7. So if you want to put up a Twitter account, people can tweet you at 2 o'clock in the morning. Are you going to respond? Are you going to wait until the next day? What are you going to do? And it's quite exhausting, the always-on nature of digital. And for me, it's one of the big challenges that one needs to discuss. Then we absolutely cannot have a conversation about digital music in Africa without looking at devices and data. I spent a short amount of time working in the music industry in Europe, and it was such a pleasure. Everyone had an iPhone and a credit card. It's not like that here. We have to work harder. We have to be more creative because people don't have access to all the brand new devices, top-end devices, and people don't have an infinite access to data. And obviously, there's also the question of how they're going to pay for the service. And it's very important to look at these issues, and I'm going to show you some ideas of how we deal with them, but it definitely belongs in a conversation on the challenges of digital. Then we have the huge volume of music, which goes along with my point here about music discovery. I mean, Yoel showed us some fascinating stats about what is going on in digital music. And the thing is, digital has made music so much more accessible, but digital has also made it harder for people to find your particular song. So back 20 years ago, when radio was the dominant way that people discovered new music, there was a gatekeeper, the radio programmer. And that was an absolute gate. Either you got through it and your music got onto radio or it didn't. So now we've removed the gatekeeper and absolutely anyone can get their music onto digital. But the question is, how is someone going to find your song? Services like Music Time, Spotify, etc., we have 55 million tracks. That's a lot of music. How is someone going to find your music? How are they going to discover it? The way we discover music has changed. And that's, for me, one of the challenges and the advantages of digital. And I think that's also a comment that I must make at this point. All the challenges can be advantages. All these things with the right set of circumstances, can also be advantages. And the last point I wanted to make was about the new services that are popping up all the time. I mean, every day, it seems, there's some new service that's going to revolutionize the music industry. How do you know who's the good guy and the bad guy? How do you know who's going to take your music and never pay you for it? How do you know who's going to turn out to be TikTok? I mean, we just don't know these things. And the music industry, so there are certainly places that you can go for advice. Gamro is a good one. But take TikTok as an example. So 2 years ago, TikTok was unlicensed by most music labels in the world. And everyone was watching to see what's going to happen with this crazy service. Now, TikTok is licensed across the board, and TikTok is probably the first line on everyone's music promotion plan. What are we going to do with TikTok? Because TikTok has become such an important means of music discovery. So you don't want to miss TikTok, but you also have the challenge of understanding which of these new services that you should work with, because there are a lot of them. So for me, those are the challenges of digital, and I would like to also think some of the advantages. So I work for a service called Music Time. How do we deal with some of these issues? So in terms of devices and data, this is one of the very important things that we are so proud of with our service. We have truly built a service that we feel is designed for the African continent. It works across a range of devices. You absolutely not have to have the latest and greatest. But I think the important point is that we've created a prepaid streaming music plan. And this is a really, really important point, because you don't have to buy a day, a week, or a month of music. You can buy 2 hours or 5 hours. You can buy music just for a party, just for a picnic, just for whatever it is. And we think that that's much more suited to the way people consume music on our continent. And what also is really important is the data and the billing. So in our product, you can see a picture there of what we call the ticker. And the ticker is counting down. It's showing you how many minutes do you have left, how much data do you have left, because we have partnered with MTN across the continent, in this instance MTN Ghana. And it's incredibly important to work with partners of this nature who are giving a discount on the data to create an incredible music package, but also it makes it easy for your user to pay for it, because you can pay for it in airtime. So we are really proud of this offering, and that's one of the ways in which we deal with the challenge of digital. Then we also have our own new service. So this is Ayoba. This is an instant messaging and content app that we've recently launched in Ghana, and we are so proud. As you can see on the screen, I'm going to see if my very little video is going to play. We are really, really proud of this partnership that helped us to launch.
Rolls Royce, Phantom, Fresh Boy, Handsome, Money Bag, Hamburg, Trinidad, all the way to Frankfurt. Who the man? Come talk, come and see the ladies with the catwalk.
So this for us is a very interesting new service that we've developed. The service offers you 10 playlists a week, so it's limited. It's a very small service, much, compared to music time. But actually, the content is free. And we actually, again, in partnership with MTN Ghana, have got zero-rated data on this product.
Sure.
So this is an incredible user experience, a very new foray for us, and we're very, very proud of the work that we're doing. And I have to note in this forum that all the music is paid for that we use. We don't ask artists to waiver their royalties. There are certainly special projects that we are doing, but other than that, we're paying the artists just the same as for music time, which is very, very important to us. So those are two of the ways we approach this. So, how to choose a distributor. So we've just heard from Yoel, who is a very, very important partner of ours at Africori. There are a lot of different kinds of distributors in the world. So when being asked the question, how do you deal with the challenge of digital media, I thought this might be a useful discussion to have. So here are the things that I think are important when you're looking for a distributor. And honestly, there are a lot of distributors out there. If you just search on the internet, you will discover a lot of fantastic companies. So starting at the top there, what service do you need? Not every artist is the same. And some artists want more involvement from their distributor than others. So we have all sorts of different kinds of distributors. We have distributors where you upload your music onto their interface in the internet. You choose which services you'd like to end up in. And they push the music out for you, and that's considered to be their job. We have other distributors who are much more towards a traditional music label, and they actually help you promote your music. They help you with the discoverability, and it's a completely different relationship. And the great thing about 2020 is we have this choice now. There really is someone out there who can help you. If you just want self-service, if all you want is the pipe, some great companies with some great technology and really inexpensive. Which brings me to what's your preferred payment model. There are pretty much two payment models with distributors. Either they charge you to upload your content, and then they never charge you on a sale, or they don't charge you to upload your content, and they charge you a commission on a sale. All depends on your label, your artist, what suits you. Which brings me to how will they pay me? You have to be hooked up to a means of payment. Whether it's PayPal or what the international companies have hooked up, credit cards, etc. But clearly it's very important to get paid. And this one, my favorite. Think about their presence in Africa. We have some wonderful distributors in the world. But do they cover telcos? Are they going to get your music to MTN for ringback tones? Are they going to help you with those kinds of things? Is it important to you? If it's not, there's a much bigger variety. But I would certainly encourage everyone to consider where you want your music to end up. And I think on the screen there, you can see the logo for a Ghanaian company called Mobile Content. And this is our appointed partner company in Ghana. In fact, our curator today, Antoine, actually works with us and is part of this company. And so this is our local presence on the ground. So metadata. I think everyone. Everyone's least favorite topic, metadata. But unfortunately, I can't emphasize this enough. It's like know your royalties, understand your metadata. So what is it? So metadata is the information we include in audio files to identify and label and present content. And as boring as this may sound, this for me is the challenge of digital media. If you don't do your metadata properly, we don't know who you are, we don't know who to pay, we just don't know. So here is just a little list of what kind of metadata. And as much as this might look intimidating, your distributor will help you with this. They make it all simple. But you can see from the top there, this is the information that you're going to give us so we know what song you're uploading. Obviously, the track title, if it's not spelled correctly, no one's going to be able to find it. The genre, this is about music discoverability. This helps streaming service understand how to work with your track. Skipping down to the primary artist, the featured artist, these are all things that are very, very important. And the composer. Gamera will be very unhappy with you if you don't list the composer, because then we don't know who to pay. Who wrote this song? Who composed it? We won't know. The other one that I just want to call out on this very long list is explicit content. I can't emphasize this enough. If you've got explicit content and explicit images, please label it. I have seen artists get penalized by streaming services because they didn't label it. And what the streaming service do is they punish you. They deprioritize your content because you got them into trouble. I have had so many complaints from people saying, I was driving in the car with my 6-year-old daughter and all of a sudden there was swearing in the playlist that I was listening to. People don't like it. Streaming services don't like it. Don't lie. If you've got explicit content, the people who want to listen to explicit content will find it, and that's a very important part of metadata. So that is my metadata speech. So what can you do to overcome all these challenges? As you can see on the screen, I think there's a lot that you can do. So starting at the top, think like a user. So think about how people are going to find your market. Think about how you find music. Think about how you listen to music. If you're doing it, so is someone else. And for me, that's always the best piece of advice that I can give to people is, try to think about the market and what they're looking for. Engage your market. Going back to what Jael said, it's very, very important to have a presence on social media and on the internet in general. If you're submitting a track, the first thing we look at is what followers do you have on Instagram? That's what everyone looks at. Labels look at it, streaming services look at it. It's really worth putting in the effort to have a social media presence. It's really will pay off. Then in capitals, get your basics right. Guys, if you want to talk about the challenges of digital media, think about the artwork. If you're going to create a very complicated album sleeve that would have been suitable for vinyl, it's not going to look good on digital and we won't be able to read your name. Basics, your profile. A lot of music streaming services and digital services in general give you the opportunity to upload a picture, a bio. It's always shocking to see how few artists do it. I really want to encourage you to do it. The streaming service is looking. Service tools. A lot of services have a back end that you can log into as an artist, and you can see where people are listening to your music, what they like. You can see a lot of analytics. This is an incredible advantage that we have never had before. Use those tools. It costs the service a fortune to build them, I have to say. Use those tools. Collaborate. This is a great shortcut. If you can collaborate with a bigger artist or an artist that has a relationship with the service whose attention you are trying to get, it's an obvious shortcut. And collaboration is always a great exercise. Support the services on social media. If you're trying to get a track onto Music Time, onto Boomplay, wherever it is you're trying to get that track, we are looking at if you support us. If you follow us on Twitter, if you tweet us, if you say, guys, this is the link, get my track on Music Time, we appreciate that. And we will give you more attention in return. Learn how services work and learn how playlisting works. Again, can't emphasize this enough. If you want to get a track onto Music Time, download the app, check it out, look at it, listen to music. Going back to think like a user, because the more you look at the service, the more you will understand what the service is looking for. You will understand how we build playlists. You will understand what we're looking for, what track goes first, how we do it, all these kinds of things that will help you when you're trying to pitch a track to us. Look for the country editor. So going back to Antoine, who you've all met today, generally services have someone in the country who is helping them to create a good relationship with the music industry and to make sure they have all the right music. Go look for that guy. Make friends with him if you can. He's going to help you. User playlists, very important. So let's say all the other advice I've given you has failed. Can't get the attention of the service. Build a playlist that has your music in it. And as those numbers grow, the music service will notice that. our algorithms are going to pick up that there's a very fast growing playlist, and something in our technology is going to say, look out for this music, people like it. And that's completely something in your own control. And I really want to encourage that. Read music blogs. Bigger picture, get educated. There's amazing content on the internet. So there's a blog that I like to read in particular that I want to encourage everyone to go to called Music in Africa. This is a fantastic company. They do conferences, they do outreach, and they really have artists in their heart. And almost every music service has a blog. And for example, if you want to learn more about Gamro, follow them on social media. Capasso, their sister society, has incredible education on social media in addition to what they are doing. These are very accessible things that you can do that really, really will make a difference with digital media. Look for partners. So partners, like we have partnered with MTN Ghana, who bring up all the advantages in the territory, which we then offer in turn to our users. But look for partners. Maybe there's a blog. Maybe there's someone who can help you get your music out into the world. And my favorite crazy advice, expect change. Music hasn't finished changing. The business model of streaming hasn't settled. There are new things happening every day. And unfortunately, it's just something we all have to adapt to. It makes it very exciting, but it also makes it a little bit daunting to work with the new services, the new models, all these kinds of things. But there's always someone out there who can help you. Should I give my music away for free? I thought I would end off with this question. This will be a question that everyone who's speaking today has encountered, and everyone has their own opinion. And I go back to what Jael said, have a plan. Give your music away for free by all means, but do it for a reason. Don't just do it because you think, oh, no one's paying for music anyway. It's not true. Lots of people are paying for music, and you have to start somewhere and build. So if you have a strategy, you've got a gig coming up, and it's more important to you to sell those tickets, by all means, drop a free MP3. But think about it. How is the guy who downloaded that free MP3 getting to the ticket? How are you going to upsell him from the one to the other? So have a plan, and it doesn't matter what that plan is. You might be the type of artist who never wants to make money, and that's fine. But just have a plan, just understand where it is that you want to end up and do it for a reason. And then you will always know that you have a strategy and you have a direction that you're going to go in. So that is my answer to my very, very favorite question. And on that note, that brings me to the end of my presentation. I've put up my email address there for anybody who'd like to get in touch with me. Below it, you see our music email address. This is the email address for anyone who wants to get their music onto Music Time. This address goes to our entire music team to make sure that we don't miss anyone who emails into us. So I really strongly encourage everyone to use this information. And thank you very much for your time. Antoine, back to you.
And I do hope people were able to screenshot the presentation of the tips and the strategies and tools that very great stuff. And like she said, you download the music app available for all MTN and Android. Now we're going to a short commercial break. When we come back, we're going to keep up our panel discussion. And I have with me here Richie. I did notice that we also have another artist on the line who is speaking to. But we've heard a lot, we've seen a lot, we've done a lot ourselves, especially you artists out there. We want to see if what we've done, especially when it comes to Richie, has proven results. What are the keys they have? And then we'll get into a bit more with, of course, Cynthia, Rex, Noel, and Kwame, who's on the line all the way from City Representative Don Motion and Pete Venice as well. So that's the panel discussion right after this short commercial break. We're not going nowhere.
Grandpa, it's still 16 unripe and 32 ripe mangoes on the tree. Grandpa, the rice is still 1.256 kilograms.
That's my boy.
We are the only network that tells you exactly what you have spent and when you spent it. Dial *545# to access your statement on MTN everywhere you go.
We day for you.
To our panel discussion. And by the way, real quick, for those of you following on Twitter, do use the hashtag MTN Digital Music. That's the official hashtag. It's just about to get a bit more interesting here. I'm going to go straight to Richie, who we have with us here. It would seem like Richie and Links Entertainment are the one record label with the keys. No behind, but stay consistent in this industry. And a lot of people will say, oh, it's the artist. But when you have a record label that has consistently done what it needs to do to make sure that whichever artist they sign gets the hit record, is making that money, is touring, something sounds right. You know, you guys are doing something right. So that's the first thing I want to ask you. In the span of the last decade or two, what has really worked for you as Links Entertainment and as Richie? You spoke about royalties, music distribution, promotion, all these opportunities out there. What has worked for Links Entertainment?
Okay, thanks for letting me talk about this. So, if you notice from everybody's conversation today, one theme has run through, which is the role of the record label, the management, or the artists, put all together and just sum it up as the main stakeholders when it comes to music. We need to understand that it's our responsibility to get our act right. You know, I mostly hear a lot of artists and managers and stuff complain, and this hasn't been done for us, that hasn't been done for us. And my question is, who are you waiting to do it for you? Because it's your job. Now, let's remove the artist from the picture, because an artist's main job is to create. An artist is the creative element in the entire setup, right? So once the artist is being able to create good music, good content, they're showing up when they're supposed to shoot videos, do promotion, perform, an artist is fulfilling their part. Then the next part goes to the business section of music, which is the record label, the management, executive production, label services, whatever you decide to go with. That part is supposed to make sure that you are making the money. And it's basic. It's the same in every other company. When you come to MTN, you have the people who are making sure the network is efficient, you have the marketing, which is making sure you have enough people who are subscribed, and then you have those who are taking care of the business. And music, because music mostly seen as entertainment, which means we're having fun, a lot of people assume you can operate that same way, that you can have fun with the music and still make a lot of money. But what they need to understand is it's a business. One thing that Links has been able to do for a while now, and I won't say we've been able to do everything, because we chastise ourselves every day in-house, feeling we should be able to do much more. But one thing we've been able to do is understand that the industry is very, very dynamic. So we always need to be evolving. We always need to be catching up with the new trends, new ways of making money, new ways of promoting, new ways of getting our artists out there so that we can stay ahead of the game. And that is what we're always doing. Like, we don't sleep. It's constant. Because, like they said, there's always a new app. There's always a new way of promoting. There's always a new artist who's doing maybe the exact sound you were doing 2 weeks ago. So you always need to be on top of your game. And it's that important. I remember, was it in 2008, when I was speaking somewhere just like this, and I was telling them about the fact that digital is about to take over in the world. because they had projected at that time that by 2020, digital revenue worldwide should have reached about 20 billion. I mean, it's not reached yet. The last I checked, I think 2019 was about 11.9 billion, but that's still huge. That's about over 56% of revenue for music worldwide came from digital. So we should have preempted this. Like, every label, every management should be watching the trends and seeing that this is where we need to go. So the Links journey into digital started about 8 years ago, where we said, look, this is going to be how we can make money consistently over a long period of time. So we need to make sure we're plugged into the right places, we have the right setup. Like, so many of the facts that they raised were so important, like, how do you choose a distributor? How are you getting paid? What services do you need? These are questions that people don't ask themselves, because when you're a businessman, it's really 3 questions. Where am I? Where do I want to go? And how do I get there? It's that simple. So first of all, as a record label, as a manager, you need to assess yourself and see, where are we right now? What do we need? What don't we have? Then you figure out, where do we want to go? I mean, it's easy sitting down and watching the big artists at home and saying, oh, I want to be a star. But a businessman should be looking at, okay, where are they? Like, when you say you want to be a star, where exactly are they? Because you will be amazed if I say certain things, like if I mention the fact that Chris Brown is a huge artist worldwide, but Osuna has better streaming numbers than him. So where do you want to go? Do you want to be the most popular artist, or do you want to be the artist with the actual numbers? There are so many artists right now that people don't pay attention to who have massive numbers, but that's because that's where they wanted to go. Whereas another artist chose to market themselves so that their brand makes them money, from endorsements to, so it's all where you want to go. Then the last question is, how do I get there? So once you establish that, then you figure it out that, okay, so I want streaming numbers. Maybe I'm based in Ghana. Ghana has limitations because how many people in Ghana have access to a credit card? And most of the streaming platforms that you see use credit card, debit card, any form of card payment. How many people in Ghana have that? So then you start considering, okay, if I want massive streaming numbers, then it means I also need to increase my the attention outside of Ghana.
Expand your reach.
Let me give some figures here right now. In the past 28 days, on YouTube, the Links Entertainment channel has had, if I'm not wrong, 15.2 million views.
Wow.
Okay. However, 29% of those views are from Ghana, which is about 4.3 million, which means over 11 million views on the Links channel have come from outside Ghana. So sometimes when we sit here and we complain about the fact that, oh, but Ghanaians don't have internet, Ghanaians don't have data, but it's digital. Anybody, anywhere can listen to your music. In 2019 or 2018, 2019, our highest streams for Links came from New Zealand and Australia. We don't have a person in New Zealand and Australia. We don't have a promo team over there. All we do is that we identify markets which are paying attention to our works. We analyze the data. We check, okay, these people seem to like it. Like, let's say you release this video. This was the kind of content. And then you realize, okay, you had more streaming numbers in this country than that country. The next time you release, you don't get the same numbers. So it means something went wrong, either with the music, with the video, with how you marketed it, all those kind of things. When you're advertising your music, you analyze and see, where do I advertise? Because the last time when I spent this money advertising in this country, these are the results I got. But I spent less in this country and got better results. So maybe I need to change my advertising plan. My whole point is, I mean, I can't break down everything in here. But whole point is, a record label and a management job is to look after your artist.
Yeah.
It's that simple. We need to stop with the excuses and why has this person not made me money and this person hasn't collected my money. It doesn't matter. Let's take Gamro right now. Gamro is trying to be able to fix their structure so they can collect royalties for us. The question is, until Gamro has done something about
What are you gonna do?
is there anything I can do about it? No. So all I need to do is keep monitoring and make sure, okay, Gamro they're advancing. Once they advance, I can make this amount of money from them. Until then, this platform is allowing me to make money. I don't understand what the fuss is so much about problems that we can't solve. We need to rise to the challenge and understand that it's our role to get the job done.
I like that. I like that a lot. Thank you very much. And I think one thing that we can all take away is the need for teamwork. It's not just up to the artist to do everything, but the artist needs the team behind him or her to actually run things and make sure it happens. So that's really awesome. Let me ask you this before I move to Cynthia. What's the biggest revenue source for Lynx Entertainment right now, as we speak? Like, where are you guys cashing in the most?
That is a question I can't answer because it changes.
Okay.
I can tell you that there are 3 main revenue sources as a Ghanaian artist. One is performances, the second is digital, and then the third is endorsements. Now, the reason I say that I can't answer because certain years you got a huge endorsement deal which was bigger than any money you made for digital or shows. Another year you had a song that everybody wanted to see you on stage, so you're on every stage.
Yeah.
Another year you were low-key, but your streaming numbers from maybe a song the previous year, which is one great thing about digital. There are songs we released in 2017 which are making more money for us now than songs released in 2020. It doesn't, the fact that the song is old doesn't mean people are going to stop listening to it.
Yeah.
It's still on playlists, it's still getting attention, so it will be unfair of me to choose one revenue source over the other.
But the options you gave didn't necessarily have royalties in there just yet.
Yes, because unfortunately, royalties right now in Ghana are not a main source of revenue.
Okay.
When you get royalties, it's like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
But it's not something that a businessman can bank on for a business structure.
Wonderfully said. Cynthia, let me let you come in here. He did mention teamwork, and I think we're all here, and I need to big you up for highlighting the need for every artist to get a very good legal representation and a team behind them to push. You came into the industry from 2 perspectives, a legal perspective and, hey, here's some really dope professional management, and you backed 2 artists, and we saw the results. We saw what you did with Sarkodie, we saw what you did with Samini. But tell me from your perspective, all the problems and challenges they've mentioned, from what you've seen from the time you entered this industry and where we are now, what have been the challenges you've met, and what has your team done as One Africa Media and also as CQ Legal to help artists through these challenges?
Thank you very, very much. I think the key thing that keeps ringing in my ear is teamwork. Through everybody that has said something here, what I will say is that we're moving in the right direction. When I came into the industry in about 2009 or so, there were a lot more problems. We are certainly making steady progress in the right direction. What we do need to do is collaborate. So I heard Rex talk about the fact that some of the major people who are defaulting when it comes to enforcement are the telcos. And I'm thinking, why aren't the CMOs like Gamro working with the record labels and the telcos to find solutions? Because I am looking at it in terms of 2 different types of users. The non-digital market, which Rex has emphasized that it's real, they're there. I see the telcos being the instrument that will lead to collection of some sort of royalties or getting some revenue streams from there. So why aren't we on the same table? Why do we still sit down and point fingers at each other? We should be sitting down and strategically coming up with ways that we can benefit music, creatives in this country. Then I look at it on the other side in terms of, everyone who's on this platform has done an amazing job at moving the agenda in terms of digital monetization. There's one aspect that I want to bring in, which is sync licensing, okay, which I'm seeing a new labels such as Universal Music have been pushing this. I think labels can do a bit more in terms of pushing that. Music can be sort of exploited in other platforms, and I see sync licensing as another key component when it comes to monetization of that. In my view, everybody from the artist, especially the artist. So I was listening to Richie speak about, an artist is supposed to just create their music. Yes, but the bottom line is that creating that music for what audience? Because when it comes to even distributing, there is the element of being very personal. I mean, you all talked about UGC, which is a big thing now on TikTok. There has to be a certain level of artist involvement. Yes. If artists are spending so much time into putting into their creativity, they need to be a key component of the business side of music, because the business side starts with a product. So if you create music and I put it on different platforms, but there's no interaction and innovative way of me exploiting that music, what's the point? The management can do everything, but the artist's involvement is very important in this whole picture. But, so for me, it's about teamwork. And when I came into the industry, really just as a lover of music. Came into the industry as somebody who wanted to be in the music industry growing up, but wasn't encouraged to do that. And I saw an opportunity to support creative by using my talent at the time, which was legal advice, to support them. And then things started to change. We need more of that. We need to stop pointing fingers at each other and sit together at the round table. If it means having to put together an organization of some sort, of a creative think tank of some sort, and sit down and have those conversations, because there's potential. And as a banking and finance lawyer, I mean, I have people coming to me and say, oh, we don't have investment. We don't have investment, but investors are going to put in money for a return. If we don't have the structures in place, if we don't have prove that there is music, there's generation of that, no investor is going to put money in something. So I think that it starts off, and what I want to see happen, and I do applaud MTN for this platform, but we need to just stop talking. And after we've had these feel-good discussions, we need to convert that into action. And that action involves stakeholders. Gumroad maybe must lead on this. MTN probably could lead on this. The likes of Yole could come in as consultants, but we need a creative think tank or a music think tank in this country with representation from every side, right? To sit down and say, we acknowledge there are problems, but in those problems are opportunities. I walk around and I don't see problems. I see opportunities that people are not taking advantage of. And when we start to do that in collaboration with artists, then I think we can move the agenda to the next level. So it has to be collaborative.
Nicely said. I don't know if Trigmatic is still with us. If he is, Trig, I'll bring you in here, because I do know Trigmatic is part of an organization, a think tank, that are doing what they can. I think Gumroad, Mr. Rex, you've heard of that organization as well. And they're doing what they can. So Trig, if you can come in now and tell us a bit about that organization and your participation in that organization as well.
Antoine, can you please ask the question?
Okay, so we're speaking about the progress being made in the action plan. Cynthia just mentioned a body, a think tank that's actively working towards solutions. And I do know you and a few artists, both in Ghana and the UK, have created such an organization. So I wanted you to touch base on that organization just a little bit and tell us what you are doing as an artist to help push the agenda of change in the industry from what an artist can do.
Okay, well, before we get to what the artists can do, if I'm permitted, I'd like to touch a little bit on what the better industry can look like, and then the artists can come in. And Cynthia raised a very important point. She said that any investor would look at returns, and returns can only come in when there's a safe environment to operate in. And in order for a safe environment to be created, we need structures. And what are these structures? Yes, the artists form part of the structures, but there are bigger and stronger positions or persons who form part of the structures as well. And I'm happy Gamro is on there as the only CMO currently as we have. So I always say that fingers will always be pointed at them by nobody, because they are the sole and only CMO operating currently. Now, with regards to what artists can do, it will start with, yes, like Uncle Rex said, forming part of Gamma, registering and all of that. I think what has really deterred or made it unpopular for artists to go on board or come on board and some of these things is actually because they have not seen results. And we can't blame results. We can't just keep talking and talking and talking about the problems like everybody is saying. But for the problems to be fixed, we have to highlight them. Digitization, as everybody is saying, monitoring, monetization, as everybody is saying, it's just simple technologies, and actually showing concern and wanting to really, really have the problem solved. I think often we love the rallying and talking about it, but the works don't get done. The works don't get done. For instance, we're talking partnership. I think there are local platforms like Uptown, there are local platforms like Good Music, who's already offering things like data. Everything will have to start from data. If we are not collecting the right data, if we don't know who is doing what and who is performing what, if we don't have the data, what really are we operating with? What are the stats? What are we working with? If an investor is coming in, what is the sheet lying down for them to see that we're going to invest this capital based on these figures or these numbers? All these things are done with simple technology, and partnerships and collaborations can make these things work. Now, if artists are beginning to see results, I think that we wouldn't have to be even asking this question in the first place, because who sees money and wouldn't want to, who sees results or money and wouldn't want to associate or affiliate with? If you get what I mean, Antoine. Like Richie said, I mean, artists will always be creating and wanting to just bring out the best of ideas. But if they are seeing what this creativity is bringing them, obviously they would want to. So I want to hammer more on getting the proper structures in place, on getting the right technology to, one, collect data, to two, disburse in disbursing funds, because the data informs everything we do. It informs the decisions we take as a CMO. It informs decision you take as a record label. It informs decision you take even as a platform, which is MTN. So data collection is actually everything pretty much right now. And where the world is going in an exponential world, what everybody is talking about is data. You understand? Also, the know-how. And you see, we cannot close a blind eye on technology's effect on all of these things that we're talking about. So even if we're talking about traditional media, which is not the new media, we still need the know-how on how to use the right technologies. We're talking the login system. We're talking using new ways. That's not even a new way, the pay-per-play system. We're talking advanced system that will now, Richie as a label owner or as a head of a label wouldn't have to worry so much, because the systems will already be running. I may not be able to say for a fact, but I can attempt to say that he might, or the label might be hurting more than they are gaining. If the structures were working well, they would have been gaining more as a label. He did mention endorsement. These things are pluses. The basic payment for every musician is his or her royalties. So this forms the base of every music industry. We cannot, we can start tackling everything from the royalty system before it trickles up to any other thing as well.
Thank you very much, Trig. And I think the association you're part of is Alliance for Change. Am I correct?
Alliance for Change in Ghana music industry.
Okay, and what exactly are you? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm listening, please.
No, I was asking what exactly are you doing right now in line with what you just mentioned?
We have been able to reach out to the necessary bodies. We have dialogued with GAMROs because we believe in collaborations as well. We started some dialogue with GAMRO. We started dialogue with the Attorney General's office. We've tried to reach out to the necessary bodies that matter when it comes to creative arts, when it comes to the music industry, because truly that's where it starts from. It starts from dialoguing like we're doing right now. And we're looking forward to reaching the right results. However, we hope that after the dialogue, some of the things that we listed, because these were things listed by a number of musicians who form part of the Alliance for Change. I'm talking over 300 musicians in Ghana, in and out of Ghana, who are Ghanaians, who are creative, some from the older generation, who put their concerns together. And these things have been aligned. We took them to GAMRO because, yes, we have about 80%, if not 90%, of our members forming part of GAMRO. Now we are pushing and we are sensitizing. We do Monday online tuitions for them to understand some of these things that we're talking about. We put the necessary pressure on the institutions that matter, that must speak about the welfare of musicians. We make sure that we are echoing, and one of this is an example. I'm on here to echo it again, that we are fighting for musicians to get what is due them, and also for them to know what they have to do to get what they deserve.
All right, thank you very much, Trigmatic. I'm going to bring Beat Menace in. Beat Menace, you've been on the sidelines, but very much involved on a more silent perspective when it comes to royalties, the structure in music. But you've actively been working. So listening to everything that's gone on today, what's your take on it? Because we have mentioned solutions. Some of the panelists have mentioned what they are doing. So what's your stance now, Beat Menace?
Thanks for having me. I think, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I think it's way overdue for conversations such as these to be had. I am also a member of the Alliance for Change, the collective that my brother Trigmatic just spoke about. And I do agree with all the contributions from my brother Richie to Cynthia to what Trig said. I can't stress on this even more. It's super, super important for us to stop making excuses. For me, that's what all the regulatory bodies, ever since the inception of a CMO in Ghana, came about. That's all we've been about, just making excuses time and time again, irrespective of the body that takes over. I'm getting some echo. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Right. So it's time that we need to fight. The time is now. We need to mobilize. We need to fight for change. This is ridiculous. Other countries have had systems put in place from the late 1800s. We totally and entirely missed out on setting up systems even before digitization. Digitization just makes it a lot more easier, and we are still sitting here making excuses. I don't know what's wrong. We need to start asking questions and holding people accountable. I'm really happy the chairman of GAMRO is here, Mr. Rexoma, brilliant musician artist. And people like that should be able to make change. However, we are not seeing any change. You understand what I mean? Over the last couple of years, I've had a lot of interviews with veteran musicians. Some die as paupers because they can't afford the equivalent of $20 for medication. We've lost many veteran artists and musicians as a result of a failed system. You understand? So the time is now. We need to make change. He said there are lawsuits. People are being taken to court. A lot of Ghanaian artists have trusted your establishment. They are supposed to protect their interests. What's the way forward? It's been dragged, cases have been dragged, or, cases have been dragging for years. We need to be proactive and then, do something about that. We can't keep waiting forever. If you are the custodians of the intellectual property of these persons, is there a way you can put an end to the usage of material out there until people learn and understand that they have to start paying for it? There are so many solutions we can come up with, and I'm also a firm believer in finding localized solutions to local problems, but doing it in such a way that it has a way of integrating with the rest of the world. That's why I really love the streaming platform Jillian spoke about, because they took the African perspective into consideration. So I feel this is the best time for us to mobilize, for us to collaborate and find lasting solutions so that you don't have future generations sitting down and having the same discussions. I started asking this question, some of the questions we are asking today when I was 13. It's been more than 2.5 decades. We are still asking those same questions again. So we just keep, going around in circles. And some of these emerging technologies for logging, for monetization, for collecting data is so easy to come by in this day and age. So I do not understand how come this is actually still an issue being discussed today in 2020. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And this is not to point fingers at any body or persons, but we need to get serious as a collective. We need to be taken seriously, and we need to start asking the right questions and pushing for change to happen.
Okay.
Thank
you very much, Pete Menace. For clarity's sake, I do remember, Mr. Rex, you mentioned a few things that have been done, so I'll let him re-emphasize on those for those people who missed it, the steps that have been taken and what has been done so far. Just very briefly, those very things, based on what he just, spoke about.
Thank you very much. It's very easy to talk. I'm happy that we said we need to find solutions. I went to Gamro 4 years ago, voluntarily. Nobody pays me to help, to contribute, to change, instead of complaining and pointing accusing fingers. I know we've done very well. Things that was not in existence, we've been able to build up to a certain stage. What I'm hoping that when we leave the scene, those talking can also go in there and voluntarily contribute. I'm happy for what Madam said. If you go to UK, they have UK music. Collective management does not respond to the entirety of the music industry. It is only a section of the music industry. Collective management does not provide all solutions into royalties. It's not true. I have played in the global scene. I know how it is. We don't have music industry in Ghana. We don't. Nobody is talking about the lack of even state support. Nobody is talking about, there are so many industries that have been supported by the states. Look, there is something that some of us try to form. We call it GMI, Ghana Music Industry. It was Gamro, Musiga, GAPI, GEBA, that is Independent Broadcasters Association, and other people with know-how. We kept it quiet because we know how the people in our industry behave. All they do is talk and are pointing fingers, accusing fingers. MTN was part of it. We started negotiating with MTN so that we can have something that we can call an industry. Gamro is only playing a small part as collective management. As I said, when you assign your right to Gamro, it's not all your right. So thank you very much. we've done what we can do. Now Gamro has a system that data is talking about. Gamro has built a metadata and is based on that CSAC, the global supervisor of collective management organizations, has accepted us. So we have done the best we can, and let us come together, stop the complaints, and then move on. As I sit right now, some of the cases we took to court, today is the judgment.
Nice.
You know, so that is the best we can do. You can't put a finger, a pistol and kill somebody because he has used somebody's music and has refused to pay. You have to go through the processes as the law requires. You know, so that's what we've done.
So there is progress. I mean, one more thing that I feel we all need to touch on before we leave is, Jillian mentioned it briefly, piracy, the use of free music, and, you know, the systems that we have in Africa, in Ghana, that allow us to stream music or listen to music. It's nobody's fault that we were hooked to the culture of downloading for free. You know, it's nobody's fault. It was hard to access internet. The payment modules went there. Thank God there are new platforms now. There's Aftown, there's Music Time as well. But I'll bring in Kwame Asensor of Ghana Motion now. Now, Kwame Asensor was part of a very early crop of digital, should I say, visionaries who realized that people can't download Ghanaian music. People can't download African music, but Africans want to jam to this music. So they created a platform, and up till now, I'm pretty sure you listen to radio every now and then, and you'll hear GhanaMotion.com on a song. So Kwame, it's been, I don't know, how many years has it been since Ghana Motion kicked in? What was the inspiration then now? And let me ask you this, now that we have all these streaming platforms and localized solutions, what's the relevance now? What do you see as the future for companies like GhanaMotion.com, GhanaMixtapes.com, who kicked off purposely to help the musicians in terms of promoting their music and getting themselves out there a bit more?
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. So my name is Kwame Asensor. I believe I started with Ghana Motion back in 2010. It merely started just as myself and some friends like just sharing music, and then it just blossomed into like something bigger, and we just developed it into like a bigger website, basically. I mean, currently the numbers have really shot up. I mean, I think with the tagline that we were putting in there with the Ghana Motion jingle, it took it to a different extent. So like people would download the music, and then like when they share it with others, or like when they listen to it, like they hear the name, and then that also serves as a means of advertisement, you see. Currently, we are trying to move away from the free downloads thing and go into like more like mainstreaming, to help the artists, you know, get the money that they, you know, deserve. The piracy, I would say, has been there for quite some time now, and you know, even though like the artists, the music that we have on our website mostly like is the artists and the management that, you know, send them to us for us to promote it for them. Currently, what we are trying to do is we're trying to, you know, move away from that, you know, to get into a situation whereby we can partner with companies like MTN, you know, all these streaming platforms, you know, to be able to monetize the content for them, for the creators and the artists. And right now what we have done is we are currently in the stage of developing a mobile app, a mobile application, so that it can facilitate all these changes that we're trying to make. And with that being said, we are also going to be like moving into a stage whereby we're going to be talking to most of the telecommunication companies, you know, to find a solution to the free music downloads. You see. Same way, like if I'm in the United States, and over here, like sometimes when you use like when you pirate like content online, you will probably like receive a notice from your telecom company saying that okay, your IP address that X X, Y, and Z, like you pirated this content and all that, you know, they can take some legal actions against you. You see, we can copy a similar
model
strategy that they are using, and you know, incorporate in our country, like in Ghana and in Africa, you know, to monitor like the traffic that goes through all these telecom companies, and put tariffs on them. You see, and we can use that as a means of monetizing it. Let's say if we the telecom company charges, let's say, like a peso on a data on a kilobyte, you can charge them twice that if the traffic is detected as, you know, as piracy. You see, this is something that we are looking to do, and we are looking to get in touch with the telecom companies to do. And we also have like pattern going on with all these things. So I wouldn't like delve too much into it.
Okay.
But then we have a whole lot in the pipeline, and we are always like open to talk about these and move forward with this. It's not time to, like, you know, like you said, it's not time to like be pointing figures and, you know, asking a whole lot of questions. But then it's time for us to sit, draw a plan, a long-term plan that is going to help eradicate all these like problems that we have.
I like the fact
that's anything I would say.
You're moving Ghana Motion, and you're aware of the fact that we're moving away from free downloads. You're encouraging the artists, but people are still sending their music to be uploaded for free, right?
They are.
What's the main, from your perspective, what's the main reason for that?
When you put the word free on something, even though you don't like it, because it's free, you still want to get it. That's the way it is. People don't want to spend on a whole lot. People don't want to spend a whole lot, or even like a little, to purchase music content and all that. But then they still have the data to download it. So how come we can't use that same data they're using? We can't like probably like double it or triple it and make money out of it for the artists.
Okay.
You see, they are paying for the data, but they don't want to pay for the content.
Okay.
You see, that is what we have to delve into.
The question I want to ask, I'll ask Richie, because I know you take your music streaming services very seriously. You know, we get the links and everything, but you do still, to a certain extent, send out free music.
No, we actually don't send out free music.
It's something.
No, I mean, we send music to promoters like radio, TV, and stuff. The thing about the free music sites is, once the song is out there, somebody will put it on there. So it doesn't, like, it goes everywhere all the time. Like an album which we are working with is supposed to be released at 12 midnight. Now, how the streaming platforms work is, when it says 12 midnight, it means 12 midnight in every country.
Yeah.
Same thing happened with Son of Africa album. It actually went out on the free websites before it got in Ghana, because somebody in another country bought it and uploaded it. So
what can you, as a record label, and I'll ask Cynthia as well, what can we do to curb this? And I'll also ask Yoel on your end, what can be done from an artist's perspective, from a record label's perspective, from a legal perspective, you know, to cut it?
I think she said something so important.
And digital landscape. It's not regulated, is it?
No, it's not. But she mentioned something that's so important, and I noticed that too when Beat Menace was talking and when Rex was talking and everything. The one thing we're lacking in Ghana is working together. I think we spend so much time seeing each other as the enemy and fighting each other and not realizing that, like, it's nice to meet Kwame because I've never met him before. We should be working together. There's nothing wrong with what he suggested right now, where the data is doubled for any time anybody's downloading music from a free website, which means we get paid for it. I remember GhanaMotion.com, when we released, which song was it? Was it like Angela? Within about a month, it had gotten over 300,000 downloads.
On GhanaMotion.com?
On GhanaMotion.com. And I was thinking, wait, what? Like, if we got 50 pesos for each one, that's 150,000 Ghana in a month. Wow. But all this is free. And he didn't make money from it. I didn't make money from it. So if we work together, then we all make money from it. We spend way too much time complaining about everybody and everything. Like some of the things that Rex has raised, some of the solutions he's looking for, I have. Some of the solutions looking for big managers have. Some of the solutions, Multimedia has it. I remember in 2008, Multimedia released a list of their most played songs in the year. I only remember this because Figaro was #1 on the list. How did Multimedia have this list if they didn't log? Which means they logged. They can log. In fact, every radio station is required to log when they are playing commercials. So anytime an MTN ad is played, it's logged and sent to MTN as proof because they took payments for it, so they must prove it. So they can do it. But the only reason they are not doing it is because they are not on the table to understand how it benefits them. And I've seen every platform, everybody who talks about a solution is pointing fingers at this person needs to do this, that person needs, no, we need to come together and find, and let's be honest, we are all businessmen. There's nobody here who's here to play. So at the end of the day, make the businessman understand how it benefits him. Let's actually monetize everything. Let's let everybody sit down and understand. Like legal, let me give you an example with legal. A lot of musicians, a lot of people in the music industry didn't see the need to seek legal representation. Because like, but this person's come to take a percentage of the money that I was going to get anyway. Not understanding the fact that when you have a lawyer, they can help you negotiate for more, put better structures in place so you are making more money. So if you're going to make 100 on your own, that lawyer will make you make 500. So now when they take a percentage of the 500, you're still making more money than you could have made on your own. So all these stakeholders need to understand that let's stop pointing fingers and let's actually sit down together. Most of the time, the hardest part is getting everybody to come together because everybody is so stuck in their ways that is this person's fault, is that person's fault. But if we actually just try it, like he mentioned, I have never thought about the fact that you can double the charge. Do you think MTN is going to disagree with this? That means they're getting more for data. Everybody wins. The website wins. The artist wins. The mobile. Let me give an example. We've been complaining about credit cards, debit cards, and all this for a long time. I can comfortably say that there are more mobile money users in Ghana than people who have cards. So the solutions are out there. But we keep sitting in our corners and thinking, oh, this person's not doing enough. No, let's sit down on the table and solve these problems. Or if we can't, let's stop talking.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead. Real briefly, please. Yeah.
As he's saying, these are some of the solutions. That's why I said the team that came together, MTN was even part of it. Now, people must understand what GAMRO is. GAMRO is Association of Right Owners, individual right owners who have come together to protect their work. That is GAMRO. So if you are part of that association and you are standing outside pointing fingers, you are hurting yourself. Some of the people are pointing fingers are not even members of GAMRO. And they think that GAMRO is something that is to be there to find solution for everybody that is not even part of. It is wrong. Because tomorrow I will walk, I will leave. What happens to GAMRO? Are we going to have the continuity? That is the questions we have to ask ourselves. We have to sit down and find solutions. Because South Africa GAMRO has been there for 50 years. You cannot just get up 3, 4, 5 years and be like that. Everybody has gone through the process, and we are going through that process too.
Wonderfully said. Yoel, I'm going to come back to you Oh, you wanted to say?
No, after.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to come back to you. You left a very successful career in Europe, working in different sectors of the music industry. You came down to Africa to set up Africori. What was the inspiration behind that? And with me asking that question, I want you to highlight on the opportunity, what the rest of us are probably not saying that you saw, and what pushed you to actually come down and kick off Africori.
Wow, I kicked off Africori after I did everything wrong for 6 years in Africa. So I had to pay my dues and try to learn as well. So you don't come into the continent thinking you can just, roll out what you've learned in other countries and think it's going to work. And I actually learned not the hard way, but I learned, I paid my school fees. Africa was really relaunched in 2012. But the reason why I decided to focus on this continent was a trip that I had in 2003 in Nigeria. At that time, I was kind of one of the, SVP of BMG Music in Europe, and I got invited by MTN, actually, it's actually MTN who made me change my career. But in Africa and Nigeria, and what I've seen was three things. First of all, the obvious, an incredible young population, an energy that I couldn't find anywhere else in the world. I haven't been into Brazil or South America, but I've never seen that in Europe, in the US, or in Asia. Secondly, I saw the digital business and by the telecom exploding and making a lot of money. Sorry. Okay, and thirdly, it was the quality of the music, and I think that's the great thing. I mean, there's a lot of things that are being told here, and I've been in conferences like some of you for many years, and there's a bit of, we kind of like, we have enough of all this. We have enough to be in this position. I think it's not about looking at what we don't have. It's trying to look at, and I think it was said before by many people, it's what we can build and looking at the low-hanging fruit. It's like, we saying to an artist, here's what you need to do. Work in a team, have target, understand what you're doing. All the things I was mentioning at the beginning. What applies to an artist applies to a business. It's the same thing. So it's not what we're telling the artist. Being an artist is the most difficult thing. It's so difficult to be an artist because it's really by yourself and it's creative. As a company, you build, you can be by yourself, but you're building that. And I think there's a lot of the problem that exists today that will be resolved once the digital music business will start to generate revenue. And I think it's kind of like the chicken and egg. Do we need, of course we need a framework, of course we need all that support from government and to make sure it's a valid environment. But honestly, if you look at South Africa, the digital was nowhere. Yes, it's much different to the rest of the continent. You know what, let's look at Colombia, let's look at India, let's look at China, let's look at Indonesia, let's look at all those countries. And let's look at how they've been able to transform, how India in the last 2 years has been able to transform from a top 70 countries to a top 15 in the music business. That's an interesting. Let's try to learn. It's 1.5 billion people. Yes, it's a crazy place with a very strong domestic music, which is, again, a strength. And I think things will set up. Somebody said that a lot of those tools exist today, and he's right. Actually, while you were talking, I can monitor the radio stations in Ghana. I've got them in front of me. I can tell you for 17 radio stations what has been played yesterday, who's #1 this week. And it's not costing me a lot of money. I've got it. So those tools are available. The problem is that they will come to place, and at the moment, if the market, and that's what I was going to say, the African market, the whole continent, sub-Saharan Africa, is so small in terms of revenue today in digital. It's still very, very small. So what did we do? While trying to build up and work with smaller DSPs and local DSPs and work with the artists because it's important, at the same time as we do that, we look at exporting the music. If my market is too small here and I've got $18 billion of revenues outside of Africa, I need to make sure I also, like links, we said 60% or 65% of his YouTube views came from outside. 70% of our revenue come from outside. That was before Master KG, but come from us outside of the continent. And it doesn't mean that the revenue in the continent is small, and we're growing. But I think things will come to place. For example, the piracy, sorry, you asked me one question, I'm going into a long answer, but the piracy, we've had data from a handset manufacturer who was also a DSP, I guess. And they were showing us, because, okay, you know what, it's Boomplay. So we've got Boomplay and we've got the Technophone. And they know on the Technophone that they've got their own Boomplay player. So they can monitor all the music consumed on their phone. And we were seeing that when we had a Nasty C who was doing whatever, 1 million streams during the month, illegally there were 20 million streams. We were like 5% of what the illegal consumption was. So yes, of course, I'm not trying to resolve the 19 million. I think that 19 million is going to resolve when legit offering bundled with the telecom, because that's what happened in Colombia and India and everything, will be made affordable for larger audience, so the audience doesn't feel they have to go and sideload the music. That's all. But I haven't found the solution, so don't ask me to predict. I've been so wrong in my predictions about the music business in Africa for the last 10 years that I've stopped predicting.
All right, thank you very much, Joel. Closing remarks from you, Gillian, as well. Music time is fast growing across Africa. You're in South Africa, you're in Congo, Nigeria, Cameroon, Ghana. What's the catalyst there? And in giving us that submission, you could also give us your closing remarks.
So, that's a tough question, Antoine. There's so many amazing, amazing services in Africa. And I think I really touched on what we feel is making us special. It's just that commitment to the talent that we have in all those territories, and not trying to draw a European model down to our continent, but rather building a model that suits us. I think that is really the differentiator for us. And of course, the focus on the local talent that we have on the continent. So I think in terms of closing remarks, I would honestly go back to what I was saying about exploring the digital environment. Download all these apps that you hear about and go play with them and go try them out. And they all have free trials, even if it's a paid service. And I just think it's the best advice that anyone can ever give you is, go and look at what is out there. And I think you'll learn very quickly what suits you and what you like and what you don't like. It's really the best advice anyone can give you. And I go back to also one point in the conversation earlier that I don't think is said enough. So I said in my presentation, collaborate with other artists, but the truth is the music industry also needs to collaborate. Exactly from the discussion earlier, we need to have more conversations like this, drawing different players together, looking for solutions together, because sometimes we tend to work in opposite directions.
Thank you so much, Gillian. We're going to go to our MTN message board, read a few of the messages that have come through. This one's coming in from Abdul. He says, my question to Rex Omar is, have they sued someone for copyright infringement? If not, what's their plan and initiatives to sue people who've infringed on royalties of its members? I think he did mention, with Cynthia's backing, that it's not up to Gamro to do that. The legal entities that do that is really up to the artists, the record labels, getting the right legal representation to make that happen as well. This one says, I'm an artist manager. How do I get my artists registered to Gamro and Musica to get a code? You mentioned the website. I think we can go over it again. Gamro
Online.
GamroOnline.org.
Yes.
GamroOnline.org is how to do that. How do Gamro even update their members? How do Gamro update their members? I do know you have social media pages.
We have social media pages. We do seminars here and there, but the fact is you call them, they will not come. As simple as that.
Okay, so they do seminars. Whenever you hear of a Gamro seminar, do your part to attend. Next question from Cyril Cam. It's in the process of monetizing music digitally, how do we deal with digital piracy? I think we've spoken extensively on that. Kwame Asenso of Ghana Motion gave a brilliant idea. I'd love to see that idea come to fruition from here as well. Good insight, Richie. My question is, as a record label owner and artist manager, can you enumerate the major challenges you face and how do you balance the investments you make in your artists? How do you balance, how do you balance the investment you make in your artists? If you can just touch on that real quickly.
It's just being able to identify where your revenue streams come from and concentrating there. So you will notice that Links, for instance, shoots a lot of music videos because we make a lot of money digitally. So putting out visual content to go with the audio content helps us to be able to make the money back. So it's just deciding where you make the money from.
Wonderful. Kafu is saying separating the board from management is the best for every business. Great. Fenyi says he's enjoying the session already. Great speakers. Well, thank you for streaming this. Interesting talk on royalties from Rex Omar. Good to know Gamro's door is still open for up-and-coming musicians. Great submission, Uncle Rex. Watch the way forward. I think he's mentioned that. They do need your support. Big thanks to MTN. They will be rewarding the most engaging users on Facebook and YouTube, so do expect a DM from them if you know you've been commenting. Thank you so much. I think closing remarks from each of us here. Cynthia, we can start with you.
I mean, it's clear that we all agree on one thing: collaboration, teamwork, all of that. I would like to see from today, whether it's something that it's supposed to be powered by MTN, the telcos together, a roundtable discussion, not just to discuss, put together a strategy about the solutions moving forward. I envisage seeing people from the music industry, people from the enforcement agencies, including the Ghana Bar Association. We do talk about the fact that artists don't want to come to lawyers. When I started representing, I think a lot of people assume that I make money from entertainers. I don't. If I did, I wouldn't be here. But we do need the Ghana Bar Association, even if it's to provide a pro bono service to young artists. We need a police service. We need everybody. Enough of the talking. Before I came on this platform, when I was asked, I said another one to talk about what? You know, we do need to move away, bring in technocrats, people who've done it in other jurisdictions. Gillian is here, Yoel, whoever we need to do to start making movement. Government, you notice I never said anything about government. When I started this, my support of the industry, I figured out, I either go on the government side and lobby government, or I empower the stakeholders to start moving, and government will follow. We have enough tools, resources, in human capital to sit down and not just scream and shout, but to start taking those steps. And when we are together as a team, people will take notice. Change will come. Until then, please don't invite me to another one of these, okay? Unless it is for us to say, can we stop blaming Gamro? Can we stop blaming the artist management, all of that? What do we do next? Key thing that comes to mind, monetizing for the benefit of all stakeholders.
Thank you very much. And again, Cynthia is a founder and partner in CQ Legal. And when it comes to our industry, One African Media, you've probably heard of them. She's one of the brains behind that. Uncle Rex, any real briefly? Yes.
I can, what I want to say is, when it comes to the talents, we have them. When it comes to business brains, we have them. When it comes to the technocrats, we have them. The problem is, there are so many people, because of our acid mouth, they wouldn't want to have anything to do with our industry. Trust me. We have Ghanaians who live here and outside Ghana who have the solutions. But everybody in the music industry, so long as he goes to studio and record one album, thinks he knows it all. So you go and sit somewhere and throw accusing fingers. We need to stop this. And sit around. The solutions are there. The only thing we haven't done, we haven't sat around and everybody is pointing fingers. Let's sit together and the solutions will be there. That's all I want to say.
Richie, I know you're a busy man now.
The world for you. Okay, I want to just touch on, okay, there's this myth about the secret of links, about how links keeps churning out artists and keeps...
The code.
Yes, the code. Let me tell you what the code is.
Tell us.
We work so hard and we still don't believe we work hard enough. The true secret is to keep going no matter what. You set a goal, you achieve it. You set a new goal, you achieve that one. We need to understand in the music industry that there shouldn't be a limit. We should be able to achieve anything once we work hard enough at it. Let's stop talking. I get frustrated when I'm watching and people are talking. Like they both said it, and it's so important. First of all, why do we keep airing our dirty laundry in public? Why can't we just sit together and figure things out? If you have a problem with how somebody's doing something, offer a solution or solve it yourself. But I don't understand why all we like to do in this industry is talk. Let's take action. I don't want to see, like, 2 weeks from now, then we're talking again about starting to find a solution. Let's just solve it. It's that simple. At Links, we don't make excuses. This is the job, we get it done, period.
I like that. Enough talking, let's act. Thank you so much, Yoel, Gillian, Ezra, thank you so much. Kwame Asensio, all the way in Philly, thank you so much for joining us. Beat Menace, bless you. Trigmatic, thank you very much as well. And to each and every one of you who streamed this on Facebook and YouTube, we are very appreciative. If you have any other questions, continue the conversation right in the comment section on MTN's Facebook page and MTN's YouTube page. A lot has been said, there's a lot to learn, so do keep sharing the link to this very MTN Digital Music Conference as well. Till the next one, do look out for all the innovative solutions that MTN is doing, all the partnerships they're doing, so much in this industry. We say a big thank you to MTN for bringing us here. My name is Antoine Mensah. Catch you guys online.
Grandpa, it's still 16 unripe and 32 ripe mangoes on the tree. Grandpa, the rice is still 1.256 kilograms.
That's my boy.
We are the only network that tells you exactly what you have spent and when you spent it. Dial *545# to access your statement on MTN everywhere you go.
Good day for you.